So, what is Pesach? Pesach is the time of liberation. And one would say, liberation, oh great, I can do whatever I want. And the Torah says no, you can't do whatever you want. So why is that the festival of liberation? And the answer is, I can do whatever I want, because when we get used to doing certain things at certain times, we feel that we can't do things differently. There was once a man who was determined not to cooperate with the communist secret police, and he was called in for questioning. And they put him in jail for a day, and within one day he became one of their rats. And he had to admit it to his friends that they should avoid him because he was forced to tell them whatever he saw. So they asked him, you were so determined not to obey them under all circumstances. What happened? He says, well, they kept me in the jail, and then it turned to be 12 and 1 and 2, and I didn't have lunch. That was the end of it. Because he had been so programmed that he had to have lunch at a certain time, otherwise it was terrible. But he could not overcome his feelings of inadequacy. And when those things happened, he just couldn't stand in the way. He couldn't control. He couldn't go against the pressures because he was so programmed that he had to have his things at certain times. We have to have lunch. And lunch is a euphemism for everything that we need and we have. And we have it at certain times, and if it doesn't happen when we want it, the way we want it, then everything is terrible, and life is terrible. We don't realize how good we have it. We have 3 square meals a day. We're happy. We're healthy with families. We have a livelihood, more or less. And we're not in hunger and disease. We're not broken. We have our limbs with us. We have our wits with us. We don't realize just how great a blessing it is to live in a home, to have clean water. Those are things that we take for granted. We're actually addicted to them. And so the Festival of Freedom is the ability not to be limited and restricted by your physical environment. In order to do so, in order not to be restricted, you have to become a master of your physical environment, of your own passions. And that's the whole purpose of the Torah. And so Pesach is the festival of liberation, of liberating your psyche, that nothing can force you to do that which you don't want to do. And the only way to do that is by being a master of self through the Torah. That's the first part. The second part is the liberation of the mind. Up until the time of Passover, we thought that the source of our success and the source of our material blessings were forces beyond us that we could identify. Some people think that their boss is God. They don't worship the boss. But God forbid the boss would get angry. They would be a lot more upset than if they had transgressed the sin of the Torah, because they see their boss as the source of their livelihood and the source of their good health and the source of their life. And that's what a stoic mentality is. You see your taskmaster and the society in which he lives as the source of your life, that you can't live without them. And even after the people of Israel were liberated, there were still many people who said, this is wrong. We're doing the wrong thing. We're leaving Egypt. This is the way we will survive and live, only by following their ways, only by being supported by them. The liberation of Passover is the liberation of the mind. We are not dependent upon physical factors and commissars and the United States federal system or the price of the dollar, the value of the dollar. Our lives and our success are determined by the Creator alone. And that's the beginning of the liberation of the mind.